Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be taking a look at 4 different stories about obese people sitting on other people and ending their lives. Yes, as insane as this is, I have 4 stories about this. 2 of them are about women who sat on children and ended their lives, and the other 2 are about women who sat on their boyfriends and ended their lives. So be sure to stick around until the end. No, I'm not trying to make light of any of these people's deaths, but this is insanely outrageous. Please be sure to check out a video I released over the weekend on my second channel about a police officer who was taking this inmate to jail, and she was like, "Hey, if you let me out of this, I'll bang you right now." The next thing you know, him and this inmate are both locked in the back of his car, and his supervisor has to come let them out, and then that cop has to explain how he accidentally ended up in the backseat of that cruiser. Here's the link. Please be sure to also check out the video I made about the worst BBLs ever that I had to re-release on Saturday because of copyright issues. There's a link to that in the description. Before we proceed, please click the like button so that I may apply comb to mustache. From the New York Post, 340-pound Indiana woman arrested after sitting on 10-year-old foster son who died 2 days later. Dear Lord. A 340-pound Indiana woman was charged with reckless homicide this week after she allegedly suffocated her 10-year-old foster son when she sat on him for several minutes, according to police. Jennifer Lee Wilson, 48, allegedly killed youngster Dakota Levi Stevens in April after he attempted to escape to a neighbor's house, according to court documents. Okay, why was he attempting to escape to a neighbor's house? What sort of horrible things were happening at this house? Wilson is accused of sitting on the boy outside her home in what she said was a bid to stop him from acting up, the docs state. Alright, here's a picture of the boy. Very sad. Dakota Levi Stevens was allegedly killed by his 340-pound foster mother when she sat on him for several minutes. The obese parent tried calling his caseworker as the little boy, who only weighed 90 pounds, screamed, but eventually stopped moving, a probable cause affidavit states, according to the Indianapolis Star. A doorbell camera showed footage of Wilson laying on top of the boy, even when he stopped moving, according to the affidavit. Dear God, yet another example of the god-awful foster system that we have in this country. Can we do something about that? Can we stop letting terrible people adopt children for profit and or to abuse them? I see so many cases of horrific child abuse coming from the foster system, and these people are never like subtle. They're always the most obvious monster. Like, you would be able to tell walking in their house immediately that no children should be in there at any point in time, and yet they constantly get to keep adopting kids. Why does this keep happening? At one point, she asked if he was faking, but saw his eyelids were pale, the court documents state, per NBC Chicago. Eyelids were pale. When cops arrived, Dakota was no longer breathing and didn't have a pulse. Wilson appeared visibly distraught as emergency responders tried to save the boy. You put on a little display of like, "Oh my God, what have I done?" after you ended his life. "I was laying on him and he was acting bad," Wilson reportedly told another child she was watching who called 911. I don't know why laying on somebody when you're 340 pounds ever became any sort of punishment. You're literally torturing somebody. When that much weight is on the chest of someone, especially someone that weighs 90 pounds like that, your chest cannot expand to allow your lungs to breathe. It's very similar to being crushed to death by a boa constrictor. A snake wraps around your chest so tight that your lungs cannot expand, and in fact, your heart can't even beat. There's another picture of the kid. Rest in peace, young man. That's really sad. To hell with that lady, dude. Dakota was airlifted to a hospital in South Bend where he was pronounced dead 2 days later, the Star reported. His death was ruled a homicide as a result of mechanical asphyxia, according to the local coroner's office. Yes, mechanical asphyxia, like I said, is when you cannot expand your chest to get a breath. The foster mom was reportedly on top of him for around 5 minutes. Oh my God. Before the fatal encounter, Dakota went to a neighbor's house and pleaded with her to adopt him because he said his parents hit him in the face, but the neighbor said she didn't see any visible injuries to the boy. Wilson was arrested on Saturday. She faces up to 6 years in prison if convicted of reckless homicide. Her foster care license was previously revoked, and she is no longer taking care of children. Okay, so her foster license was previously revoked. You guys went ahead and reinstated her. Now she has ended the life of a young boy, and she can face up to 6 years in prison. That means that's the maximum that she could get. She could also get 1 year or 2 years, and the max she could get is 6. Why can she only get 6 years for ending the life of this child? Also, the young boy went to the neighbor's house and asked them to adopt him because they'd been hitting him. What the hell's the deal with the neighbor, too? They're like, I didn't see any marks on his face. So? A boy comes over and says, please adopt me. My parents are abusing me. And you're just like, well, I don't see any marks on his face. This kid is clearly full of crap. What? I feel like the system failed this young boy, his foster parent failed him, and the neighbor failed him. And 6 years is not even close to enough time. How about life in prison? How about that? How about that as a bare minimum if you end anybody's life? Unless it was some ridiculous mistake, but this clearly was not a mistake. When you lay on somebody to punish them, that's not a mistake. You're trying to hurt that person, and you did all the way until they stopped living. Inexcusable. Next. All right, now we're going to be taking a look at a story about a 325-pound woman from Florida who ended the life of her 9-year-old cousin by sitting on him as punishment. A 325-pound Florida woman is charged with killing her 9-year-old cousin by sitting on the child as punishment. Veronica Green Posey, 64, was arrested and charged with homicide and cruelty towards a child, the Pensacola News-Journal reported. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office report identified Posey as the girl's cousin. At the age of 64, dude. Wow. Shouldn't you be like chilling with your grandkids at that age? Paramedics and deputies responded to the family's Pensacola home following a 911 call Saturday. Posey told deputies she sat on Derica Lindsay as discipline for being out of control. During the punishment, Derica told Posey and 2 other adult relatives who were identified in the report as the girl's parents that she couldn't breathe. When Posey got up, Derica wasn't breathing. Authorities say Posey called 911 and started CPR on the child. So you sat on the kid until they stopped breathing, and then you started doing CPR on the kid. I mean, that's good that you started doing CPR on them, but you could have also not asphyxiated them. Instead of trying to resuscitate my child, I just don't crush them to begin with. You know, that's a little pro tip. I'm not trying to make light of the situation. The arrest report said Grace Jones Smith, 69, and James Edmund Smith are charged with child neglect. Grace Smith called Posey, who is her niece, to her house to help with disciplining the girl, according to the report. She told investigators that Posey hit the girl with a ruler and metal pipe before the child ran to an armchair. What? James Smith told investigators that Posey sat on the girl for about 10 minutes before she complained she couldn't breathe. She stayed on the chair for an additional 2 minutes before getting up, he said. I'm guessing the kid never said that they couldn't breathe, because you can't say that when you can't breathe. If somebody's crushing you to death, you literally can't even speak. Mike Carroll, Secretary of the Florida Department of Children and Families, issued a statement that called the child's death appalling. I agree. He said the agency will work with the sheriff's office to hold those responsible for her death accountable. As the family has a prior interaction with the child welfare system, a thorough quality assurance review will be conducted to review all prior interactions this family has had with the child welfare system, the statement said. What, are you guys saying that you're the ones who put her in that situation? Posey was released Monday on a $125,000 bail. The Smiths remained in jail, with Grace Smith's bond set at $75,000 and James Smith's bond set at $50,000. Escambia County jail records didn't list any attorney for Posey or the Smiths. Wow, dude. Hopefully these people get a lot more than a potential 6 years like that last story. Alright, now the stories about people crushing children are over, thank God, and now we're moving on to 2 stories about women sitting on their boyfriends and ending their lives. Obese woman admits sitting on boyfriend and crushing him to death. And then here's an unrelated story about muffins or something, see?
It's most at risk.
The muffins are not good, I tell you.
But these types of foods.
These types of foods are no good for you, love. You should stop eating them. This is British TV, it is. Perhaps if you put down the Coswazzer, you'll lose a little bit of weight. Coswazzer is what we call a candy bar, you see. Also about the TheCynicalDude. I'm sorry for my terrible British accent. Don't unsubscribe. I'm not sure why they have this completely unrelated video playing right here. This video is about a University of Auckland study shows the majority of food labeling, marketing, and pricing sends an unhealthy message. What the hell does that have to do with this woman sitting on her boyfriend and crushing him? A Pennsylvania woman who crushed her boyfriend to death by sitting on him has avoided a life sentence. Oh, they were trying to get her with a life sentence, huh? What happened to the lady that crushed that boy who's only getting a maximum of 6 years? What? Wendy Thomas admitted on Monday morning that in early March she suffocated her boyfriend to death by sitting on his chest, reports the Daily Mail. Thomas weighs in at 154 kilograms. Her boyfriend, Keno Butler, was only 54 kilos. And as we know, there are 2.2 pounds in a kilo. So 154 kilos is roughly 340-ish pounds or so. And her boyfriend was roughly 120 pounds or so. Thomas says she was drinking and looking to buy crack cocaine before an argument broke out between her and her Mr. Butler. And her Mr. Butler? What? What? You guys were arguing over crack. That old story. If I had a nickel for every time me and the missus had an argument over crack. Here's a picture of her looking like an absolute winner. I told him it was my turn to hit the crack pipe, and he just wouldn't listen. Gosh dang it, why did you make me have to do this? Sorry, this isn't funny, but it's kind of funny because these people were both crackheads, so it definitely isn't nearly as sad as the story about those kids. She attacked Mr. Butler with a knife and stabbed him in the hand. She then hit him repeatedly with a table leg before sitting on his chest and suffocating him to death. Oh my goodness, this was very violent. She really wanted that crack. Thomas pleaded guilty to third-degree murder. As a result of the deal, she has avoided a life sentence, getting 18 to 36 years rather than 20 to 40. Okay, why is that other person facing a maximum of 6? And then here are 2 pieces of completely unrelated news, again for some reason. New Zealand passes bill giving 10 days leave to domestic violence victims. Pain remains for victims' families despite New Zealand's plunging murder rates. The hell does that have to do with anything? Mr. Butler's cause of death was attributed to respiratory insufficiency, secondary to blunt force trauma to the neck and thoracic compression, exacerbated by blunt force trauma to the head. Thomas will be held in Erie County Prison while she awaits sentencing. According to relatives of the victim, the relationship was troubled. Yeah, no shit. Mr. Butler's sister said that the murder was something that was going to happen. They even stayed at my house and I asked her, "Don't kill my brother." What? Mr. Butler is survived by a daughter, his 2 grandchildren, his mother, and 9 siblings. Blunt force trauma to the neck and thoracic compression. Thoracic refers to some of your vertebrae. You have your cervical, your lumbar, your thoracic spine. So to compress it means to crush some of your vertebrae. My God. What, did she sit on his head down this way? Okay, so that lady was a violent lunatic who narrowly avoided getting life in prison. Don't know why that other lady who killed a literal child is getting a maximum of 6 years. Dude, that's completely insane. What kind of nonsense do people get up to when they're smoking crack? Jesus Christ, what a stupid drug. Next. Alright, this last one is a video clip.
About this situation, I wish I could take it back.
Judge Carolyn Friedland sentenced Landingham to 3 years probation and 100 hours community service.
What? What? 3 years probation is what you got for ending somebody? She didn't do any time.
She was immediately released from jail.
What? This person didn't do any time at all for ending somebody's life. What the hell? How is it legal for some people to get no punishment at all and other people get life in prison for the same crime?
While Middleton Bay's family hoped Landingham would eventually be able to take part in her children's lives, they were surprised that she got no additional jail time.
I'm a little surprised too. What? By the way, this story is about a woman sitting on her boyfriend and ending his life. I didn't say that in the beginning. I thought it was going to mention that, but it's in the title there.
So basically, you saying I can go and sit on somebody and all I'm gonna get is probation?
Yes. She ended a life and all she got was probation. I cannot believe this. This is complete ridiculousness.
I
3
feel
years
that it
probation.
wasn't no justice at all. My brother's gone, and all she get is 3 years probation.
Oh my God. Okay, that was completely ridiculous, and I did not see that coming at all. She just got 3 years of probation for ending somebody's life, which means she doesn't have to go to jail at all. She gets to go home, and once a month, she has to go check in with the probation officer. That's all. They'll drug test her. They'll say you're not allowed to drink, and they might test you to make sure that you haven't been drinking. But that's it. Okay, so the family of the people whose life ended, what if they were to go retaliate against this person? Would they also just get 3 years of probation? And I'm not saying anybody should do anything like that. I'm just a guy asking questions. I'm just a guy with a microphone and a coffee cup. None of this is legal advice. Don't break the law and don't go out seeking revenge, even if you can get away with it. There's this old saying, if you go out seeking revenge, make sure you dig 2 graves. One for you and the person that you're going to get revenge from. That's a lesson in letting things go. If someone is currently harming you, defend yourself. But if the moment has passed and the moment is over, let it go. That little tirade had nothing to do with anything. I was just going into my deep nonsense, trying to get all wise and crap or whatever. So that last story was completely insane. The first 2 stories were really, really sad. And for the millionth time, I can't believe that that woman faces a maximum of 6 years for ending the life of her foster child. You should get extra time because that was your foster child, somebody that you were supposed to be caring for. That should be an additional charge. You were entrusted to watch this child and be their guardian, and you did this? No. Life in prison, bare minimum. So what do you think of the stories that we just covered? Is it completely sad and absolutely ridiculous that those 2 first children died? Do you think that it's completely insane that that one lady got 3 years of probation for murdering somebody? Leave a comment below. I'm sorry that this wasn't like a funny video like it normally is. It was just sad, honestly. There weren't a lot of hilarious jokes to make throughout this. I'm really sorry. Happy Monday, everybody. Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.